Hello, I'm Charna Davis-Wiese, and welcome to UCF Profiles. It's every 12-year-old's dream come true, at least my 12-year-old's, a life designing video games. Well, this may sound amusing to those of us who still can't control Mario. The gaming industry is a huge worldwide business in need of bright and talented people to make it work. Now, I know my 7th grader is setting his sights on this career, but who knows what video games will look like by the time he is in the master's program. Join me today in welcoming our guest, Ben Noel, from the, let me make sure I get this exactly right, the Florida Interactive Entertainment Academy.
Correct.
FIEA.
Yes.
Much easier that way. Thanks for joining us. I'm so sad that my little guy can't be here because I think he lives for video games. And I think he understood, but so many of the rest of us don't understand how enormous a phenomenon this is and what this means in terms of money and billions of dollars.
Well, it is definitely the next media for entertainment. I think it was, I think in 1999 in the industry we started claiming that we topped Hollywood box office. Now there's Hollywood other things like rentals and stuff, but the initial launch of a movie, just like the initial launch of a game, which is mainly sold in retail these days, is just a huge moment for each studio and what they're trying to do. So they're after blockbuster hits, and there's more blockbuster hits in video games now than there are movies. And it's about it's anywhere between a $10 to $12 billion a year software side, and that's what we are talking about, the software side. But there's another huge piece that ends up being somewhere between 30 and 40 billion, depending on who you're talking to, is when you get the hardware and the other different subscription-based type products involved.
And it's going to surpass music for sure.
Oh yeah, it surpassed music, and
it would
surpassed
have easily
Hollywood.
If it hadn't been for iTunes and all that, probably.
Oh, it's if you look at, you're right, and what we always try to compare is look at music, and look at different shows and different concerts in a year, and then look at just one of our franchises. And Madden football is one of EA's franchises. Is a good product to look at each year. So it comes out each year, so you can look at the growth year over year. And right now, Madden is right up there, number 1 or number 2 each year. And whether it's a big Billy Joel concert or a Matrix Reloaded movie or Titanic, Madden's there topping it or right with it each year. And the thing is, Madden's there every year.
And it's absolutely amazing. I don't even want to say hype, but I guess it is kind of hype, but the intense interest that leads up to the launch of something new. For example, my son wanted a new hardware product that's coming out, and I woke up in the morning to get them ready for school or whatever. At 6 in the morning, I had seen that I got an email at 1:30 in the morning about the pre-sale of this particular product, which I'm sure you know it is. And I thought, okay, I could get it for Christmas. By 9 o'clock in the morning, 9:05, they were all gone. All the pre-sales were gone. So not only are people into it like you wait for a movie, it's even a more intense kind of longing and desire for this product.
Well, that's a good segue into how much this industry has matured. 10 years ago, you really didn't have that because the predictability of games being completed or being successful or what time they were going to be released was very difficult to know. So marketing departments couldn't go out and do what they're doing now. So now marketing departments are well in advance promoting and pre-ordering for games that are going to come 3, 4, 5, 6 months out. That's just because the production value and the attention to the industry has come to where companies like EA, Ubisoft, Activision, Sony, Microsoft, Nintendo, all as hardware suppliers, have basically forced the industry to step up. And because the industry did step up and got control of its control processes and really made it a huge production, and that's why you see these mass amount of jobs that we need in this industry now. But since doing that, also you're seeing multi-billion-dollar companies, and you're seeing this phenomenal, just new media coming along with multiple games each month.
And it's marketing genius because it's multi-generational. You've got the moms wanting it for their children. You've got the 20-somethings who are, as my son said, yeah, the ones who are able to drive and get it first, because the moms don't stand in line as long as they do. You got the teenagers, you got the little guys like our 7-year-olds, and it's even different than a movie. You really don't even have a movie where it's such an expanse of consumers.
Oh, no doubt about it. And I think what you're seeing also when you mentioned the moms and the dads, I think you're also seeing that even whether we do it consciously or not, you find people playing games, whether you're playing crosswords or whether you're doing stuff on Pogo or Yahoo and you're playing games. I mean, that's actually the largest population game communities. It's not, many people would still argue that commercial off-the-shelf video games are still a niche market towards the younger generation, people that have the consoles. Well, you look at, there's millions and millions of more, I think, like AOL, the Pogos of the world have, 20, 30 million sets of eyeballs there, and they're playing free games, being supported by advertising, but they're still playing games. It's driving a huge business.
And it's amazing to think how far it's come. When I think of Pong, I remember everybody was so addicted to it, and we thought, wow, look what this can do. And I think had we been able to see not very far into the future, what's happened with the technology is just amazing, and the breakneck speed that it's changing.
That's a great point. And a lot of people, we don't do that. It's like, watching your hair grow. You don't know it's happening, but if you show up and see somebody you haven't seen for 3 or 4 years, you can look different. And no doubt about it, our kids are looking different that are making these games. The kids that are playing them are getting younger and younger, wider demographics. Just for example, Pong's a great example. Pong, changed the world when it came into the living room, and Atari brought it into the living room. That was like, oh, now the light bulbs started going off, mainly for computer scientists. But as the technology progressed and computing speed progressed and the ability to standardize and make things work, we moved into an era where artists became meaningful. And now we have, say 1990, there was a lot of programmers making games with a few producers out selling and marketing, come up with the game ideas and just duct taping it together and getting it out the door. But they could do their own art. They could sit there and put oh, that guy's head's yellow, and that guy's head's red, and that was it. But once the computing power got up to where they could render, the stuff that could be made on the computer by artists, that's when you saw massive amounts of artists coming in. That's when you saw the industry really starting to move, and people started seeing the value on the screen and the graphics.
And you talk about the artists, and in reading about FIEA, it's not readily. You cannot readily see how many people it takes to put this stuff together. You don't think of the artist and the cinematographic things. It's so much to make one video game, or in the video game industry, even though you're playing it there by yourself, maybe 200 people worked on that project.
Oh, absolutely. And if you look at a big blockbuster game like a Halo, or any of the EA Sports titles and the Sims and such, they were also built this past year or the past 2 years that they've been building it with those 200 people you may be talking about, but they're also using tool sets that were built by hundreds of others, either a generation before or they're on a separate team working on centralized tool sets. So it is, the fact that we're still selling today games for $50 and $60 is amazing, but it's also allowed the developments to progress at a very rapid pace.
And that's where some of the profit does go into making the next generation.
Absolutely. I mean, right now you're seeing, the companies like the EAs and the Ubisofts and the Activisions, they're in transition right now. They're transitioning from the PlayStation 2, Xbox, Nintendo GameCube generation to the PlayStation 3, the Xbox 360, and the Wii. So when that happens, there is a natural, let's wait. Consumers are now going to wait for the new hardware. When the new hardware comes out, it takes a few years for it to ramp up to have enough volume in there, because everybody makes their money off royalties off of the software. So when you look at these boxes that you're buying, if you really look at it, when you go and buy that $200, $300, $400 box, whatever it is at Christmas, if you look inside, it's amazing what you just bought for $400.
Right.
But the stream is coming off the royalties off the eventual software.
Well, that's what I usually tell my kid, because I usually get it, so-and-so's mom stood in line for 3 hours and he got it Christmas. And, but I said, if we wait till Easter, it'll be cheaper. You'll have more games available, and I think some people are actually. So you've got not only do you have everybody waiting for the release, then you have the people waiting for after the release, and there's like a steady market.
That's part of it. I mean, the games always have to be good, or your hype's only as good as the first review you're going to get. So they need to be good, but it's part of that hype, and you get that inertia going. Madden's a great example. It's a cult now. Halo's kind of that way. When the next Halo comes out, There's going to be a lot of people waiting in line. There's going to be a lot of websites and blogging going on about what it's going to be, when is it coming, who's getting it first, and that's part of the game.
Well, I can't wait to see that. And we'll be right back. We'll talk some more. Welcome back. We're talking to Ben Noel from FIEA, and we're talking about the video game industry and what it takes to actually make this industry possible and make this industry run. And we're talking about how incredibly popular. There's no end in sight, but what you do need are people to keep making them. The more demand you have, the more you need people to do this. Talking to my child who is so into this at 12 years old, he says, well, you know, I'm not too young to start thinking about what I have to do to get there, to be one of these people who helps put together a video game. So what track do they take? And then once they get to FIEA, what kind of things do you do there?
Well, that's a great question, because you're actually drilling down on, you know, one of the nerves we try to touch with parents and young people is, what do you want to do with your life? You know, do you want to do this? What happens, you know, typically of the person who's come into, you know, the video game industry, they've come in through either having a computer science degree and doing well in some sort of industry, or going right into potentially games, but they usually came in through a back door. And artists, you know, it's just your art talent. If you're very good on with your art, your foundation skills, and you're willing to accept digital, you know, equipment and work with it and work on a computer, and you can work on teams, you've got a wonderful career if you want it.
That's a big thing, the teamwork.
Yes, being able to work on teams, and that's the magic of games. I mean, that artists are their own kind of species, computer science are their own as well. Very brilliant.
And you don't think of the two of them together.
You wouldn't, but when you take two wonderful groups and put them together, you go, what could happen? You know, Walt Disney did this before. You know, Lucas did this. It's all about production and bringing it together, and how can I push the production values up by, you know, getting people to work together. So that's what we do. So we're taking kids, so if you're in junior high or high school, you know, if you have wonderful art skills and you're interested in this, and very dedicated artist, and are looking to go to, you know, a fine art school, whether it be UCF, we have wonderful ones in the school. I mean, in the state, we have UCF.
So it would be graphical arts, digital arts?
It's you know, it's art. Just go into go into an art program. You know, probably lean towards some graphics if you want to do that, and find, you know, look for the best programs that do those things. UCF is you know, progressing along and has a wonderful program over there that now they're starting to turn a lot of their attention to what we're doing, and we're collaborating quite a bit. Ringling School of Art and Design is in Sarasota. EA, Pixar, all others have recruited from there for years. Now we're getting graduates from there coming to our program to get themselves into the game business. So from an art perspective, you know, you have to be a traditionally very good artist and want to work with other people. From a computer science background, obviously high school, you know, you've done probably pretty well in your math courses. You've gone through and you've spent 4 years at a computer science school, and you need to focus on some of the graphical stuff that comes with computer science, and not just be tied to one language. Start looking at different things, because the difference in computer science from what we do and what they do, and maybe on the Space Coast here, is we're in confined areas. We're getting a CPU that's this size. We got this much memory to deal with. You can't write algorithms that just go off and let capacity and power solve those problems. From a production standpoint, we bring in producers, and producers could be you and me. You could have a liberal arts degree, you could have a film degree, but you're obviously, from a production aspect, we're looking at people that are very passionate about games. So there's no doubt about it. Producers love games, and they can spend all their life talking about them. So
the producers, would it be like a television producer where you're the idea person who actually formulates the plan?
Yes. They're anything from, the true producer is that. They're formulating the plan, they're pulling the team together, they're working with the marketing and business people to get it positioned right, they're helping recruit. They're doing all that. Some of
Making
them
the
are
pitches.
Some of them are doing the game designing, definitely doing the pitches and being, the mouthpiece for the project. But also, because it is computer science and art, and you're putting it together, and you have to make it work on a computer, you also have to be a very good scheduler.
Schedule. You also have to keep your team together.
Absolutely, absolutely.
But good people skills. I kind of smiled when you said the Ringling School, because I did see that there was a very important football game with the Ringling School that probably didn't make ESPN, the homecoming virtual football reality homecoming game.
Well, that was interesting. EA Sports and NCAA, the latest NCAA game on the Next Generation Xbox 360, partnered with Ringling and UCF, and we went down as part of Ringling's 75th anniversary, and we played a virtual NCAA football game, and the Armadillos.
With cheerleaders and everything?
There were plenty of us cheerleading down there, and it was a big barbecue and a game with everybody, and I will say the Armadillos took quite a beating from the Knights.
Yeah, the Knights won. Very, very well. Very, very, very well. In one of the things on the website, it said, learn about the gaming lifestyle. And obviously, it's not all serious. You have a lot of fun doing this.
Well, that, again, to make the things the best, whether any operation or any organization, teamwork, camaraderie, trusting of one another is key. And so when you go into a video game studio or a video game even school, or working on a video game project, you're going to be spending a year or two with a group of people. Now, you got to get the right group together, and that's part of a producer's job to make sure we do that. But then, you're going to spend a lot of your waking and your sleeping hours thinking about your product, thinking about your teammates. You're going to dinner with them. You're going to dinner and then coming back to work, and you're talking about the project at dinner, and you're debating over, you're arguing over, you're going in concept rooms. Mm-hmm. So you have to create a lifestyle. You got to create, this is what I want to do. I want to spend, up to 14 hours a day when we're crunching to get stuff out with these people and like the excitement. Not much different than people picking up sports.
The new facility really helps create that creative process. It's not going to be the typical office or classroom situation.
That is very much true. And we took an opportunity to go and start from scratch, because we were starting from scratch. We didn't have to remake some program. So we thought it was best to put our money into our faculty and our facilities. Now, obviously, we have people like EA and Disney and Lockheed, some people that can definitely take students from our program. But we also have a university that was very open and says, we're going to partner with corporations, and they're going to partner with industries. And so they basically let us kind of drive the bus, which is kind of, walking into many universities, you would think, okay, here's an ivory tower, and you're going to end up doing it their way. Well, they said, what should we do? And they went on and did some studies and found that they should have more industry-based focus. So we found some very industry-based talent that also has credentials in academia and work towards credentials and have passion for it. Top that off with a wonderful facility in downtown Orlando. There was a partnership with Orlando, who basically gave the facility plus about $5 million of upgrades, along with our state-funded $4 million that our legislators and our state pushed through for this program. For about $10 million, we put together a wonderful facility in School of Film and Digital Media downtown with state-of-the-art equipment. It looks very much like a working studio. It has workstations, and it feels like a job. So hopefully when they go from there to somewhere else, they will have spent 16 months and they're much more prepared for their job.
Were you surprised at the financial support you got from government, from the state and from the city?
Well, not surprised once we went through it.
Pleasantly
I think
surprised?
Compared to other states, especially when you start talking about entertainment, it's hit and miss. Because like in entertainment, we have 67 counties here in the state of Florida, but there's probably only a handful of them that actually care about movie making and game making, because it's not going to really affect their community.
Or they don't think it will.
They
but
don't
it really
think it will
with the people that come and work and the
Correct.
money that brings in.
Next week I'm at Leesburg, talking to them how, one of the things we're going to talk about, I lived in Austin for 9 years, is Round Rock compared to Austin. Round Rock was just a country town. Now it's a headquarter of Dell and is a bustling community. Those things will happen.
Right, and that's another part of this whole thing is the economics spreads out. It spreads out from the university to EA, to Lockheed, to Disney, and it also helps us with hopefully keep people here in the community.
And that's the key. I mean, the economic development push was for high-wage jobs. We want more In the future, we want more high-wage jobs, whether it's in computer simulation, whether it's in biomed, whether it's in public health, or whether it's in video games and digital media. We all want that. Most communities want that, and they want that for their children. This is a wonderful opportunity. We were ecstatic when the state actually pushed forward and collaborated on this, because from an EA perspective, when we spoke with the governor about it, we really weren't looking for somebody to give us some money to create a new headquarters. We really were looking for talent, and the best way that the state could help was to help the University of Central Florida and the rest of the state programs get up to speed, maybe even get ahead of the rest of the country.
When you think about 10 years ago, where your industry was, and you think about 10 years from now, what do you see, and what do you see as the future? What do you see as the changes, and how is it to keep up? I guess you're not only on top of it, you're helping to push it forward yourselves.
Oh, absolutely. And I see it as, there will become a time when we push the realism of the graphics to a point of diminishing return. The big opportunity, I think, video games is still the bell cow for the interactive world that we're talking about, what we're training these students for. But you will see a lot of interactive advertising. You will see most websites that you're now using that are more static and text-based will be interactive. The learning tools in education and medical will be more interactive.
So they will ask you questions, you will answer it, you will get information.
You will play scenarios. You could play through you could take a whole class in American history and go through a whole class and play video games and level up. And you know what? That's your score. If you get a higher level, obviously you've answered a lot of difficult questions and learned a lot, and that's your score. That'd be a much better learning and feedback system. That's
one of the things, with my first child, I was very slow to get the video games, and there was a guy who was fixing our shower, and he had 5 boys older, and he said, "What are you guys, Amish? Why are there no video games in the house?" And I thought, well, maybe, he needs to be up on the cultural events of the day, and I got him a Game Boy at that time, and I really don't see negative aspects from it. He's learned self-control because he's not allowed to do it all the time. His hand-eye coordination is really good. And I really think that he's gotten a lot of positive benefits, from it rather than negatives.
I think we're in a wonderful spot where we get to watch the world change, and I think we're seeing that in education because of that. I mean, parents and teachers are at least accepting that, hey, this isn't making these kids stupid. I mean, these kids are getting better with their hand-eye coordination, their decision-making skills, their cognitive skills, playing games. I know my son learns vocabulary, learned how to read on video games.
So did mine.
I mean, I was surprised at what he was reading. I said, "Where do you learn these words?" "Oh, it's in this game and that game."
Especially when the younger ones try to keep up with the older ones, and they say, "You can't play this, you can't read." "Oh, yeah, I can, or I will, real soon."
Yes, yes. And Magic of Gathering and Pokemon, all the card games that they're playing, they get the cards and they really don't know how they work. They just like them, but then they learn how they work.
Yeah, I know. I can't even wait to see what's coming up next, and I guess I'm going to have to learn how to play with them.
There's multiple new platforms, and the good news is always when you talked about 5 or 10 years from now, the platform that you'll be working on right now, 10 years from now, that you find you enjoy the most or use the most, you probably don't own one right now.
Right. What's your dream game? Do you have a dream game that you hope that maybe one day you can put together?
I think a suite of games, more of a portal, taking some of this interactive production technology and techniques that we have and taking it into education and medical and building, suites of products. So, as boring as it might seem, a suite of educational, what we used to think of Britannica encyclopedias.
Oh, okay, because I was going to say, I'm like game impaired, so that means.
Yeah, but doing it in a fun, gaming way that, we've done a lot of the entertainment stuff, and the entertainment stuff is great, and when we start merging movies and games together and being able to sit in the living room with your family and watch a movie, and the outcome of the movie is based on how the family performs in their interactive piece, that's going to be fun.
It's going to be so great. Now, you promise me you'll come back and we'll talk about all the updates?
Oh, no doubt about it.
Great. Thank you, Ben Noel from FIEA. So much information, so much to look forward to. I can't wait till we meet again and talk about what we learn about and see in the future for video gaming. I'm Charna Davis-Wiese. Thank you for joining us for Profiles. We'll see you next time.